it's a 9-foot Steinway built in Hamburg, and this year this is a 1981 piano, so it's a pretty new one. 1980, early 80s is about the newest pianos that we do major work on. I can't think of too many unless they've had some kind of, water or fire mishap that we would, because they, usually you've got 20 or 25 or 30 years before a pin block's going to be replaced. This is this one is broken. This is the original pin block for this Hamburg Steinway, and it has a few. If you're a pin block connoisseur, there's a few unusual features to it. For one thing, see the red wood? That is some kind of tropical hardwood, and it's probably Paduc or maybe Bubinga or Bolivian rosewood. One of those kind of hard resinous woods. But I don't know if you two have tuned this particular one, but at some point in its life it had a mishap and somebody put a plug in one of the tuning pin holes in the bass. And I don't know if that was at the factory or in a previous restringing, but sometimes stuff just goes wrong. And so you can kind of see this is somebody after the fact had put this in and see the holes drilled out bigger in the bottom and the plug didn't quite go all the way. So it's just probably one of those notes that is driving somebody crazy and said, I'm just tired of that tuning pin. I'm going to plug this hole and fill it up. But this is beechwood in addition to this whatever this tropical hardwood is. And this is another one just like it. We've this year we've gotten UT's not spending a whole lot of money. I've done contract rebuilding for the UT School of Music since 1985. And some years there's no money and we don't rebuild anything. Some years we've done a couple of projects for them. But Charles Ball asked us to restore, basically it's new pin block, re-notching, repinning the bridges, restringing the pianos, refinishing the plates, and they're both polyester finishes, and there's some little bit of polyester repair, which I'm not really holding myself out as a great expert at this stage. I used to have a long experience in fully refinishing pianos in polyester, but I, again, became jaded and explored it as far as I wanted to. And so I've been happily leading a fairly polyester-free life here for the past maybe 12 or more years. But when we fit a pin block into a normal piano, there's a point where we get the plate turned upside down because we're going to be grinding the wood until it just fits the space of the iron. Now, we may still do a few more passes with this, but you see it's clamped on here, and we're doing that so that we're sort of simulating some compression on it and make sure that it's pulled to the plate webbing this way, and then also pulled into the flange along here. And so one thing that I used to always do, just to amuse myself, and then as I taught Jim to make pin blocks, he did the same thing. There's a series of hash marks. It says unclamp. We got 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. So there were 40 fitting passes before he put the clamps on, and then he's got 3. So there have been 43 passes of fitting this, and we apply this this awful combination of graphite and wax, and we paint it on the plate flange. So, and this stuff gets all over your fingers, and it's pretty nasty stuff. But what it does is wherever the wood touches the iron, it leaves a black mark on the wood. And then we have some other shaping tools, but this little air-powered angle grinder is the main one we use, and you can just grind that down to take off the place where it's contacting. I think this is the same way that maybe the Inca stone builders would make things. You see, I've never traveled to Peru or anything to see like Machu Picchu, but the photographs I've seen of this stonework, it's just incredible. They have giant rocks that are mated. It's like they grew that way, and I think they did the same thing on these huge boulders, and they just would chip away wherever they needed to until finally, after about 40 or 50 times, or 60 or 80 or 100 times, it all starts to fit. And y'all have maybe had a dentist do the same thing where they put some little carbon paper to see how your teeth come together. So it's a way that you can tell when something's fitting.
Is this also the same stuff that detectives use for fingerprints and so on?
Well, it'll leave some fingerprints.
No, I mean to detect for fingerprints.
Oh,
Graphite.
I'm not, well, maybe powder, you know, the powder graphite may.
Right.
So what we try to do, this is a 5,000ths feeler gauge, and so this is the one that I mean, you could have it greater or lesser, but we tried to, and you're welcome to try this out, we try to get it to where the 5,000th feeler gauge isn't going to go in, or if maybe there's one or two little spots it will, but by the time it's, you know, I think 5,000ths is, now here it goes in, that's not, and Jim's got some little pencil marks showing, okay, well, we may try to improve that a little bit. And occasionally, if everything's really good, but you got one little area, either you may just leave it like that, or maybe we'll mix up some super glue and sawdust and just to make sure that it's kind of bedded in there. But anyway, this is what we're doing on almost all the pianos that are here for pin blocks. And then, as I say, we're making pin blocks for almost everything that comes here. The other thing that is important to do when a piano plate is upside down like this, if you're a piano rebuilder, is, you know, you have, of course, the top two sections in modern pianos has a capo diastro bar, and this is actually a really good opportunity for y'all to see and feel what this capo bar is like for the top two sections. You'll notice that it has like little burrs or little grooves where the strings have been, and that's. This piano also has something I've never seen on a Steinway. They're usually a continuous line, but this one makes a little curve right there.
It does.
And we just did a 1976 Mollberg D earlier this year, the same work, and that one was straight, but this one actually has this little
Dog leg in it.
dog leg, and it's just a. And I suppose the hammer line would have to be a little different to get the proper strike point there, but. But anyway,
Isn't there a gap in the piano line there?
oh well, this corresponds to one of the section breaks, like in the action. You know, there's a section. But yeah, so your strings will be here and here. But these little grooves are normal. I mean, you're going to get those, but we do file and sand and polish to where that we get that as smooth as we can. Usually, there's really no hint of the original string grooves. Now this piano had been restrung previously, and I'm sure since it's a university concert or actually this is out of Bass Concert Hall, you know, that piano was restrung at least once, maybe twice, and they would have resurfaced this capo bar each time it was restrung. And sometimes, even as normal piano service, there are some instruments and some concert settings where just as like after 5 or 8 years, they'll let the string tension down and they'll sand and file and polish these capo bars and then respace, and even if they're not restringing. And in fact, I guess some of the Busendorfers actually have this big old removable capo bar. There's about 30 machine screws that go in there. So theoretically, you could let the string tension down and unbolt this thing and take it out, and then go to the bench and you could file and sand and polish and then put it back. I've actually never rebuilt a modern Busendorfer, so I don't know how they are, but that appears to be something that they built into their design. So anyway, that's just a little bit about what we do for pin blocks. This is the plate out of that Vos that y'all very heroically picked up in the air, and it's you know, this had a thick coat of a couple of different golds, and so we actually removed all the original gold, and then the gold that Kerry Symes had put on when he refinished it last. And we actually, one of our means of doing that is we have a sandblaster that shoots baking soda crystals. It's like industrial kind of baking soda that we get, and it will knock off paint pretty quickly, although it still takes a long time to do. But you know, it's like a sandblasting scenario, except you're using that.
Is that because it's less abrasive than sand?
It is a little softer of a bite, and like sometimes sand will really deform metal a lot if it's high pressure. Then you can they also have other blasting media like you know, corn cobs that are ground up or walnut shells and things. So But this is where we're going to have to put in some new hitch pins. For remember, I was telling you this one